Burrow looking deep. He's got Higgins out there. Caught. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Mikey baby, just slip a contract under the tree for tea. Been a physical guy, Mikey baby. Stop worrying about the escrow tonight. Katie baby, and don't forget the deal for Jamar, that's fair. Don't pull out all your hair, Katie baby. Your finances would still be alright. Think of all the guys we've lost. Think of all the Super Bowls that it has cost. Next year we might even be okay if you just pause your cheapskate ways.
Welcome to number one Bengals podcast. That was beautiful and seductive, Mr. Dr. Hodgie Electric.
Well, you know, with the cheapskates,
Yes.
you got to use whatever you can to get them to do what you need them to do. I've learned that by living with the cheapest of the cheapskates.
Yes.
Yeah. You.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, this basically, we're at the point in the season where we're trying to say, hey, look, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, these guys are important pieces.
Yeah.
You need to keep them. Nothing else is working for this team. Keep those guys.
Keep Jamar.
And what a game to show that. T. Higgins, some big catches. Jamar, obviously, a few big plays, not as many as we would like, not a touchdown, but I mean, just every week the guy, you know, I think he had 94 yards and it was like, oh, that was a subpar game. I mean, this guy, every week, such a threat.
And it's not just what he does numbers-wise, and it's not just what he does, you know, in terms of, like, just being great. It's how he looks doing it. I mean, he just looks amazing. He's just like, he's got something, some panache or something that makes him very different. But, you know, Dadio, I thought it was kind of unexpected for you to start by talking about the offense and talking about Jamar, considering that game against the Titans, for me, was really a display of what I think Lou had planned for the defense all along. We had heard that this was going to be a fast-moving defense and they were going to get a lot of interceptions. That was the plan. That was the kind of people that he was bringing on. Yeah. And we saw it. I mean, how many interceptions were there that game?
Well, I think the Bengals had 4 or 5. I'm not sure. They had a lot.
They had a lot. I think one ended up being the drop thing, right? It ended up being a touchback.
Well, I think that was the fumble. I think
that was the fumble. Yeah,
that was the fumble.
That was the fumble. But there were,
and by the way, Jamar Chase comes out and he says that fumble, Jordan Bowers is going to have to buy me lunch,
a steak.
And it's going to have to be a steak. Yes.
Yeah.
And I really like that message, because here's the thing: you don't like that message. Why?
No, because you should not eat cows. You should be their friends.
Well, think about it like this, okay? That was a pig that he failed to fully slaughter by taking it across the goal line. And so now his punishment is to sacrifice something much bigger, which is a cow.
Very biblical of you. Very
Thank you.
Ancient. I like your ancient ways, but I
Thank you.
do not agree with killing animals.
Well, I'm just. This is just where we share the news.
But let's go back to what I was saying. So that defense looked good. Now, let me give you a multiple choice option here, Daddy.
Sure.
Did the Bengals defense look good because A, they were playing the Titans, and the Titans are not a very good offense?
Yes.
B, because things are finally come together? Or C, something else that didn't come to my mind?
Okay. I think it's C.
Okay.
Right. And here's what it is. I think that, look, they had the bye.
Yeah.
And think most of this team, it's in their heads. And so when they had the bye and Cam Taylor-Britt was benched and Josh Newton got a little bit of playing time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're getting the message that it's up in the air. Who's going to be our secondary? It's up in the air.
Right.
And also, Geno Stone has been getting trashed on. And then he comes out, he says, look, I'm not going to chase plays. And he's just like, so now he just lets it loose. I think they're at the point where the defense, it's like, YOLO. Right?
YOLO, it means you only live once. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just go for it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Because defense is a lot more than just putting caution to the wind. There's like plays and there's like people moving around and coverage and all that kind of stuff. And that seemed to work too. Or was it that just the Titans don't scheme very well?
They're not good. The Titans. Well, I mean, Will Levis is not good. Of course, I don't think he threw an interception in his previous. Like he didn't have a turnover in his last 2 or 4 games.
And he had like 5.
And then he had like 5.
Amazing.
Well, that is peak Lou Anarumo, confusing guys. I mean, he's confused Patrick Mahomes a number of times. So what is Will Levis? But I will say, I feel like for the first time, I would say last week against the Dallas Cowboys and then this time against the Titans was the first time we saw these guys anywhere near the ball. And that's how they're making the plays. They're around the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the scheme. I think they have their heads screwed on right finally. Because, and look, Geno Stone said it. He said.
What did he say?
He said that, I think it was after the bye. He said the past couple of weeks. He said the past 2 weeks, we've made it simple for us so we can go fast. And that's like this show, right? So sometimes, like Lou is a genius, okay?
Okay.
Now, imagine we have John Sheeran on the show. Very a smart guy.
He's a smart guy.
Right, a smart guy. But we look like idiots. Now, when he's not around, we look brilliant.
Not really, but yeah. It moves fast.
It moves fast.
I mean, so what you're saying is simpler.
You're saying,
you're saying simpler play schemes, simpler things. Things move faster. They
and
can
it
make
works
those
for them
plays.
because Geno Stone is to safeties what we are to NFL analysts. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, I don't want to. He's not a very refined player from what we've seen this year. He looked great in Baltimore's system.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a great system and he had a great support around him, so he could just run around and pick off passes and stuff. But he's not a Jesse Bates. He's not a guy who's going to, just kind of manage the entire field.
Okay.
Right? He needs other guys around him to excel. And so I think that him playing loose and just kind of like seeing some opportunities to make the plays, it's working for him.
Good.
He's never going to be a Jesse Bates. He's never going to be half of a Jesse
Who
Bates.
is? Yeah.
Nobody.
But that was the incredible thing. And is it too soon to talk about the fact that while we began the show praising the offense, a certain someone didn't seem very happy with the offense?
Yeah.
Well, had a frustrating day, even though he looked amazing. It's just strange.
He looked amazing, but he had turnovers. He had some bad plays.
He had one big
And I'll tell
turnover.
you, well, I think
two.
he had 2 interceptions.
He had the fumble.
Yeah. But Joe Burrow, right?
Joe Burrow.
You know what my opinion about Joe Burrow is.
Best ever.
Best Bengal ever, best quarterback ever.
Yeah.
And but what I always tend to say it's not his fault. And this time I'm going to also say it's not his fault. I'll tell you why.
Why?
Well, that interior offensive line is so bad. It's so
But they had a
bad.
good game.
No, they had a terrible game.
What
The
do you
interior
mean?
offensive, I mean, Joe Burrow, he had no time. I mean, look at his touchdowns and his big
What
plays.
about the famous 9-second play?
So Devin
He's
Cochran,
scramming.
that was Devin Cochran.
Yeah.
Okay. He took that guy and drove him into the ground. Did you see that play? He drove him into the ground and then he was like dancing on him and jumping on his head.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Well, it's football. You're supposed to do that.
No. This was more than football.
Okay.
And then he was like celebrating that, hey, I just
danced on
wiped
your
my
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was Devin Cochran on the left. Amarius Mims on the right had his greatest game ever. He had 0 pressures. He was basically perfect. He's a rookie tackle. And someone pointed out Amarius Mims has now played more NFL snaps than he did college. Now, this guy is a rookie, which means he didn't play a lot in college. He's pure talent. He's only going to get better. Tackles are looking okay. Devin Cochran, obviously, not long-term solution.
No.
Hopefully, Orlando Brown can be back next year. But
Next
the
year?
guards, yeah,
Is he that hurt?
he's very hurt. And do you remember on this show when we
Yeah.
talked about how he's invincible, he's so big, he'll never get hurt?
I do. I kind of remember.
He's
that.
so big. Yeah, we just said he had never had an injury before.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
We said on the show, and then he goes out and gets injured.
The human body is a fragile thing, Dadio. It doesn't matter if you're a football player. It doesn't matter what you are. The human body is very fragile.
Yeah,
We don't think
Well,
about that a lot. We don't talk. We should talk about that on the show more.
we should talk about it.
Yeah.
But
So
another-
then-
well,
yeah.
I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
speaking of fragile, so the human body is very fragile. You need to protect it. And you talked about how when your roommates, you needed a helmet to protect yourself from some of my hygiene practices.
Yeah.
But really, you never know. I mean, look, you could be, for instance, you could be checking the mail, right?
Yeah.
And an angry mailman or mail person
Yeah.
or a mail whatever, they come and they basically throw the mail on your head. Well, you have your helmet on, you'll be safe.
Well,
Anywhere you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know that I think this has happened to all of us, where we have an old pair of pants that we haven't worn for a while,
Yeah.
and then we reach in and there's $699 there, and you're like, what am I gonna do with that? Well, what about greengridiron.com? Put in
Code Bengals1.
Bengals.
If you don't use the code, it seems very expensive.
Yeah,
But with the code, it's very
It's gonna
cheap.
be
We can't tell you.
less
Lot
expensive.
less. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can even, if you get the warning label, it's already pretty cheap. Now imagine with the discount. You won't even notice it from your bank account.
In an age of carelessness, in an age of people just doing whatever they want, don't you need more warning labels in your life?
I think you do.
Yeah.
And so that's, Dr. just to your point,
Yeah.
that was what I wanted to say about that.
Greengridiron.com. Now, I want to get back to the Burrow incident, okay?
Yeah.
When I first saw Joe Burrow yelling at Zach Taylor, I thought, okay, there's a frustrated young man. Maybe it's because, we missed another extra point. Because that was stupid. I hate missing those extra points. It happened again. Maybe it was something small. But if Jessie, what's her name? Elise Jessie?
It is Jessie, yeah.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, she read his
She
lips.
did the mind reading,
Yep.
and she translated on Twitter.
Yep.
And he was basically saying, if I remember, it's effing embarrassing. We're not allowed to use the F word on this show because then we won't get,
monetized.
It is effing embarrassing. We are
Speaking
6
of
and
monetized.
8. We are 6 and 8. He's saying this after a win. It's
Yeah.
effing embarrassing. And he's saying this at the end of a game where he won. And I think you got to really think about that. Is that because maybe he's not used to losing? I mean, he was a winning quarterback in college. And then when he came to the Bengals, he had that first losing season in 2020, but then the rest were really great seasons, good seasons. And then, of course, he was hurt for one of them. And maybe he's not used to losing. Or maybe he's frustrated with Zach.
Well,
I mean, he was yelling at Zach.
I think
and he was yelling at Zach at the, listen, hold on.
Yeah.
He was yelling at Zach at the most Zachish moment. At that moment when Zach comes and congratulates people and gets people hyped up and is Mr. Mickey Mouse, Mr. Optimism. And it seemed to me like Joe Burrow was, excuse me for saying this, urinating on the cake, as we said in the village.
Right. Well, look, he got mad at Zach.
There we go.
and
Could
a
be
few
because
other-
of Olivia JD cards. Good point.
Which
Yeah.
Olivia?
Which
So
Olivia?
many, yeah. Here's the thing. So there was some bad clock management. I can't remember the play, but there was a little messy handling of that. I saw the Bengals were like out of timeouts, and it was just messy. They had a delay of game. That was part of it. That's on Zach. But also, you know what I love about Joe Burrow? This is the second time he's gotten mad after a victory. There was one where it was before the Ravens game.
Yeah.
And they were so happy, and he was like, I think we got our first win or second win of the season. He was like, no, we got a big one coming up. This is nothing. We didn't play good enough. I like that even though they're 6 and 8. And by the way, Dr. Hodgie, did you know they doubled their playoff chances this week with that win? Did you know that?
I did not. I know the Broncos won, which I thought
Broncos
hurt
won.
their
So the
chances.
Bengals had a 3% chance last week. Now they have a 6%. And
Okay, well, 6 is still not good.
it's double. If they do that every week, They could be in
Yeah.
the playoffs in a few months. So here's the thing.
Well, they have to win every game to get in the playoffs. But what stinks is even if they win every game, they might not get in the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
I think the Dolphins have to lose a lot, and then the
Well, if the Broncos just lose 3 straight, we're in.
Well, they
no, we're
won't.
not this in. But then we.
no, but I think it's
then
the
we-
Dolphins that have to lose a lot, and the Chargers, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I mean the Chargers are actually looking pretty good. Dolphins might keep losing.
yeah. I mean, you never know. Everybody could lose except the Bengals. Then we'd be in. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so he doesn't, even though they're 6-8, he knows they're out of the playoffs. Basically, he takes pride in his work. You know. He
I know,
reminds
but
me-
I
he
don't think
reminds
it
me
was
of,
about.
like,
I think
your
it was
family.
about the playoffs.
Yeah.
We are effing 6-8. It's embarrassing.
No,
Now,
no.
you-
If
you
they
do
had a
psycho-
clean
yeah.
look, let me tell you this: if they won 21 or 17 to like 3,
Yeah.
and it was a nice clean game, no turnovers,
Yeah.
and they moved the ball, but it wasn't explosive, he wouldn't have done that. He was upset, like, hey, we're good, and we're playing like amateurs. We have these fumbles, we have this bad
Yeah.
play clock, we have.
I don't know. Look, can I just offer a real quick psychological analysis of Joe Burrow? Everything about him, when you really put it together, I love the guy. I think he's a great QB, but everything points that he's very conscious of his image, his image. It's effing embarrassing. That means
Yeah.
this is how I look to others with a 68 record. I am Joe Burrow. You look at
Well,
hold
yeah.
on. You look at the hair coloring that he did earlier in the year, the modeling he did.
Yeah.
You look at some of the the interviews that he's had. You look at how upset he was when he sort of was known as a party boy after they broke into his house and Olivia was
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
He was very upset. He was unusually upset. I mean, it happened to Mahomes. Mahomes wasn't as upset. Why was he so upset? He seems to me to be very conscious of the image that he puts out there in the public. And that's just a personality quirk, a personality trait that he has.
Yeah.
So I think that, honestly, that makes, if you put things together, someone who is conscious of his image and hears all the trash talk about the Bengals,
Right.
he knows he's not the problem.
No.
So who's the problem?
So
Zach.
so hold on.
Yeah.
I just want to say, real quick, the 4-week in a row, I think, 4-time champ,
Yeah.
patron of the week, Ceiling Cats,
Yeah.
has a very important comment for us.
Yeah, that was a great comment.
And yes, Ceiling Cat says, Burrow said F that to whatever Zach said.
Yeah.
So Zach,
I bet that's what they say when they see a cat come out of the ceiling. No offense, ceiling cat.
yes, that means, well, that's the thing. We have a lot of drywall in Ohio.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot of work for the cats.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so look, so he said, so Zach basically, like you were saying, his Mickey Mouse voice, he comes out there, he's like, hey, little guy.
Dirty.
Yeah,
Good job. Here's a ball. Here's a ball.
He's like, gives him a juice box. Like, great game, guy. Great game,
Yeah.
Joe. We did it.
He
you know?
cut the oranges in half. He gives him orange slices.
Right.
Look, it
and
is
then
working.
but then the Joe's like, no, don't you try that with me.
No.
No,
F that.
no, F that. I'm a
go back in
killer.
your ceiling,
Why
Zach.
aren't you a killer?
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to kill. That's what he said. We
I
need to
love
destroy the
his killer
opposition.
instincts. I do. I love the fact that he's throwing his weight around, but it concerns me. It does. That if I hope Burrow is wise enough to know that Zach is not the problem. Does Zach have to go? Yes. I mean, there has to be responsibility, culpability.
Zach's not going. I'm just telling
Zach's not
you.
going.
Zach's
but
not going. They're
on any other
6-8.
team, he would. On any other team, he would. But at the end of the day, Joe, I hope you know that it is, as our song said in the beginning, the cheapness of the Brown family. God bless them. God keep them. They're a Cincinnati. They're part of our heritage. We love the Browns, but their cheap butts are the reason why this team is not thriving.
I agree.
And they got to change that.
They got to change that.
Even if you change
And-
the coach, you got to change those cheap ways.
You do. And speaking of cheap ways, we have a lot of fans here, but
We do.
some of them are not patrons.
No.
And it's just basically, if you want to distance yourself from Mike Brown the most you can, the best way is to go become a paid subscriber and then get free access
Yeah.
to all of our songs.
Yeah.
Absolutely free.
Yeah.
Like this one, Mikey Baby. I think
Yeah.
this one's an instant classic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It had a lot of Christmas spirit, and I know you helped me with it, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. And that is kind of where we're at. And the fool says this is all correct. So that is good. So I think we can get to our prediction.
Yeah.
Now we're facing the Cleveland Browns. Jameis Winston has been benched. He was just benched before we went live. And now they have Dorian something. Okay?
Yeah.
Dorian something is going to be the starter. Does it really matter? I don't know. Because really, the thing about the Browns is it's their physicality. It is that Myles Garrett, that defensive line.
Yeah.
And it used to be their offensive line just like opened up these big holes and Nick Chubb would destroy us. But Nick Chubb is not the same guy anymore. But these Bengals, I mean, we've seen them play well against good teams.
Yeah.
And we've seen them beat bad teams, but barely.
Yeah.
But haven't really seen them. I'm trying to think, maybe 1 or 2 games where they looked good for an entire game, you know? And now they get a team that is not good. The Cleveland Browns are not good. And
No.
I do think that there's going to be change there. They're going to have to find a quarterback, obviously. I think Deshaun Watson might be headed towards retirement even with the way his body is, you know, it's very tight and stiff. And so I feel like, you know, the Browns are in a terrible place, but this is not a Bengals team that's okay. So we just got breaking news from Ceiling Cat that Chubb is on IR, so we don't have to worry about him at all.
Which is better.
Broken foot, yeah.
Yeah.
And so really, any other year, any other team, we'd say this Bengals team would kill the Browns. But first of all, it's the Browns. Second of all, this Bengals team is wildly inconsistent, very sloppy and unpredictable. So what is your prediction, Dr. Hodgie?
Okay, well, my prediction involves just a little bit trip down memory lane, Dadio. I don't know if you remember, but back on Village Island, there was the guy named DeFranz. DeFranz had a motorcycle. You remember this? And he claimed that the motorcycle did not need gasoline, that it ran completely on sexual energy. Do you remember that? And when it would stop running, this was the thing. He said that, that's because there's less and less sexual energy in the world. And like Santa Claus chasing Christmas spirit, he would chase the sexual energy. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I don't know if we can say all this on the show, but he was a very...
This is all G-rated. I mean, this is, this is Santa.
Okay.
So here's the thing. These are the two Browns teams, the two traditional Ohio teams. This is the battle of the Ohio. And it's happening in Paycor. And what we've missed is that Bengals energy. They have not won a lot of games at home. For some reason, that old Houday spirit that was, if you remember, I mean, the Bengals used to be unbeatable at home in the old days. And they were really good at home even in the Dalton days. But nowadays, they've lost that energy.
And this game is at home, is what you're saying.
This is at home.
Okay.
They've lost that
By the way,
virility.
breaking news.
Breaking
Game
news.
is going to be at home.
At home.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I think. Guess what? Guess who was born in December? Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Guess who was born in Ohio? Joe Burrow.
Yes.
Guess where the team is playing? Cincinnati. What is close? Christmas, full of sexual energy. So, what I think is that this is going to be the time when the Bengals finally vroom, vroom, vroom their little motorcycle and it starts to work and little sparks fly out of the motorcycle's exhaust engine and flies into the sky with Rudolph in the front. And they win. They beat the Cleveland Browns 27-23.
Wow.
That's my horoscope.
That was powerful.
Thank you.
That was a
Trip down
peak
memory lane.
horoscope. Yeah. That was pretty good. Well, okay, so here's my prediction. Look, Myles Garrett, these guys tear Joe Burrow apart every time. They attack him.
Oh, man.
They maul him, really.
Yeah, they do.
Really, I mean, you look at the way they hit him in the face. Every game he's
Yeah.
getting mauled
They're
and
rough.
hit. And
Yeah.
so I think, look, the offensive line, the interior offensive line is bad. Devin Cochran had a few nice plays, but come on, he's not. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but what do we know about him? So I think the Browns are going to maul the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh.
I do. And I think the score would be 31-10 Cincinnati. That's my prediction.
What? Wait a minute. Back up.
Yeah.
Back up. Reverse here. So despite the fact that the Browns will maul them, yeah, the Bengals will still win by a whopping 21 points.
Clearly. Yeah, it's very clear. So
is it?
Okay, yes.
Not clear to me.
Okay, so when you have a store, right? You just call it a store. But when you put one store next to another store and another store, what do you have? You have a mall.
Yeah.
Right? And so the Bengals have 2 wins in a row. Now they add the 3rd win
Yeah.
against Cleveland.
Yeah.
They will have a maul. The Browns will be the ones who maul them by getting defeated by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Because of so all the losses that they have
Yeah.
are like little stores of incompetence, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you could look at it that way. I'm saying that the wins that the Bengals have, the 3 wins, because they will have 3 consecutive wins.
Oh, I get you. They have 3 consecutive wins.
Yeah.
But then now they're going to have a loss.
No. The Bengals are going to win.
The Bengals are going to win.
Bengals will have 3 consecutive wins.
They're opening up in the Browns mall.
They will be mauled. Yes.
They will be mauled. And they will somehow still win.
Yes.
And is the best mall in the I haven't been to Cincinnati in a long time. Is the best mall in Cincinnati area still the Erlanger Mall that says Erlanger Y'all?
Florence, but it is actually now probably Kenwood. A lot of people like the Kenwood Mall.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've been in a mall.
But we do have now. We have a
people
nice
who shop
outdoor Liberty Center mall. Very nice in shopping center. Yes.
Great.
So that is really all we have. Don't forget to go to iTunes.
And what do they put in the YouTube comments? What do we want them to comment on?
Yeah, what do you want to comment on?
I got one.
Yeah.
Okay. What? Okay. Will the Bengals move away from Zach Taylor after this year? Yes or no, and why?
That's a good one.
Is that a good one?
I think so.
Yeah. I think they're going to, my predictions are going to blame it all on Lou. And you're going to see Lou go. But I think that if I were Mike Brown, what I would do, what's the special teams coach again, his name?
The special teams coach.
The famous.
Is,
the great.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The great special teams coach that we've had like for generations now.
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean.
I think they should make him the head coach.
I don't see it happening.
But I mean, I think it's his time. Everything he does is so great.
Yeah.
Just give him a shot for a year until you find the right coach.
I could see it.
Put in the comments, agree, disagree, tell me what you think, tell me what's going to happen in the coaching situation, get it going. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to read
Simmons. His name is Darren Simmons. Once again, the fool and ceiling cat saved the day.
Wow. Breaking news.
Breaking
Bengals
news.
have just named Darren Simmons. The special teams coach. But I wanted to read, we had a new iTunes review, and I was going to try to find it.
Please read that. Yeah.
Well, I can't find it.
And if you haven't put a good iTunes review for us on iTunes in the podcast, the podcast has a little bit of extra stuff in the beginning. It's nice. Just go on, subscribe, show us your love. Subscribe here, subscribe there, subscribe everywhere.
Okay, let me read it to the audience. Okay, here we go.
To the audience, listen.
And it says, truly, the number one Bengals podcast. Before this podcast, I stayed awake at night thinking of how tragic it is to be a Bengals fan, thinking of how they drafted Billy Price over Lamar Jackson and John Ross over Patrick Mahomes. Getting hit by the melee of unfortunate incidents, I thought of ending my fanhood. As I was about to toss myself off a scaffold into a giant boiling batch of Skyline chili, I heard from my phone what was truly the number one Bengals podcast. It was ESPN meets Sesame Street. A man was a child again. Gone were the thoughts of chili asphyxiation, replaced by a future of optimism. Thank you, Dr. Hodgie. And my daddy, Dadio Maktouk.
Yeah. And
your human, John Sheeran. You are truly the number one Bengals podcast, and you saved my manhood. I'm sorry, my fanhood.
My fanhood. John Sheeran's my second favorite human after Victoria. Now,
and this
young man.
Hold on, this review was by ADVGYM. So if you leave it,
I want to address ADVGEYM right now,
please,
and tell him ADVGEYM that you called us the number one Bengals podcast. That means so much to us because did you know that we are actually still part of the Believe Network?
Right.
And there are 2 Bengals podcasts
at least,
and we are not the number one in terms of popularity between those 2. And yet somehow we were named the #1 Bengals podcast.
It's really weird how the world works.
Yeah. I think you just typed that in.
Well,
when you
there's a
made the
lot of
show.
different theories, little fan fiction, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so please go to iTunes and leave your review, and we'll read it on the show. I
On the
promise
show.
we'll read it.
Yeah.
And that is really all
Happy
we have
birthday,
for
Merry
the show.
Christmas, Happy New Year.
And don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and yeah, we'll keep watching the Bengals and give you comments and breaking news on this show. Thank you to Ceiling Cat and The Fool and our entire comment section for keeping things light and informative. And we will see you next time. So long, sweetie. Peace.